What's up, everybody? My name is Josh Wheel. I'm here with Nick Spencer, the writer of Marvel's Secret Empire. Thank you for being here, Nick.
Thanks for having me.
So I want to ask you about the experience of getting to Marvel's big summer event where, you know, Captain America is Hydra and he's taken over the Marvel Universe. But leading up to that, you actually started with the Captain America Steve Rogers #1, where at the end he reveals himself to be Hydra. He says, "Hail Hydra," like we have here on the screen. So, and the fans, being as passionate as they are, really like went after you on Twitter, and so what's it been like for you to like deal with that and deal with fan expectations and try and, you know, make them happy while still telling your story?
Well, you always try to keep in mind that it's a sign of how passionate people are about the characters. That, you know, Captain America is the most trusted and revered figure in the Marvel Universe, and that's true for the readers, for the audience as well. So seeing this is the ultimate betrayal, and that's gonna make them angry and upset, and we knew that going in. So, you know, at the end of the day, you just have to have kind of faith in the story that you're telling and believe in where you're going with it, and that it'll all be worthwhile. You know, so I'm certainly really appreciative of the folks who have stuck around and who have been, you know, following the story. It was definitely a crazy thing when we first announced it.
So it's good to know that people care, but like maybe lay off on the curse words and
maybe don't do the death threats, but
yeah.
You know,
Just, come on, people.
I'm telling you what to do.
And so I think a big part of it, the crux of it, was the fact that people heard Hydra, but they thought Nazi, because in the movies, Hydra is a special science division of the Nazis, and in the Earth's Mightiest Heroes Avengers cartoon, Hydra is essentially a stand-in for Nazis. So the general public, they hear Hydra and they think it's Nazis. So for you, I noticed in your run that you really attributed all the Nazi stuff, and rightfully so, to Red Skull. And what he did was he made Captain America a very loyal subject to not himself, but to Hydra. And so he seemed conflicted at the beginning of like, well, what do I do? And then he essentially played the shadow game against the Red Skull and removed him from power and actually killed him and took him off the board. And now he said, now that the Nazi element, now that Red Skull is gone, now Hydra can be its pure form and live up to its original ancient purpose. Right. So was that something you did on purpose?
A little bit. I mean, I think that, you know, Hydra is an organization with, you know, this sort of long history of kind of partnering and co-opting with various evil empires, and as you mentioned, you know, in the movie continuity and in other continuities, you know, the connection is a lot closer. In the actual comics continuity, it gets tricky down in the weeds, but basically, Von Strucker gets kicked out of the Nazis, flees to Japan. That's where he takes over Hydra. It's post World War II, and was originally kind of devised as a stand-in for Spectre and you know, other kinds of evil spy organizations. But I wanted to try to find a new balance, you know, in terms of Hydra's worldview. That you know, we had said that they were thousands of years old and that they'd always been kind of up to these things, but I really wanted to get to what they stand for and you know, what they're after, and that ideology is different from, you know, what you would traditionally, you know, say is like Nazis, but they're both very evil and villainous. Right,
so, Hydra's, they're not Nazis, but they're still really bad.
Right, so, you know, you know, sometimes, you know, you can say, well, they're not exactly in the continuity Nazis, but, you know, then people can be like, are you saying they're not bad guys? And it's like, no, they're really, really bad, and they'll happily, you know, partner with Nazis or anyone else if it helps them reach their end goals. So, you know, but again, I wanted Steve's vision of Hydra to be something fairly distinct, and I think that as the story goes on, you know, people will see why we did that and see kind of where you end up. I think we have a kind of a broader message built into that I think people are going to respond to.
Mm-hmm. And for the past year plus, you've been doing sort of a dual run of Captain America. You have the Steve Rogers, who's the secret Hydra agent, then you have Sam Wilson, who's doing actual Captain America, and sort of learning about Hydra, but then learning about America through Sam's eyes. Right. And then his story has been, Sam's that is, been very more politically tinged. Sure. So was that a way for you to sort of show of the two opposing ideals that are coming to a head?
I think so. I mean, I think that one of the built-in advantages that we had in doing this story was that we had Sam as Captain America. So even with what we did to Steve, we could always point to people and say, you still have Captain America. Sam Wilson is Captain America. And you know, the story that we've been telling there has been about that same struggle. You know, it's been kind of meta in that sense, that it's been about, you know, people not being willing to accept Sam as Cap, people not trusting Sam as Cap, you know, and just all this resistance that he's encountered. And now you see, meanwhile, Steve has just been left to his own devices and allowed to run all over the Marvel Universe. And so, you know, I think that there is some topical and you know, substantial parallels to make there. Yeah,
and you say topical, and I immediately think that there's no way you could have known the state our country would be in, and sort of and how heightened politics have become, especially in the last year or so. So is that something that you play into, or is that something you're just writing your story and it just happens to really echo what's going on in the real world?
We definitely, you know, we had the plan for this story back in 2015. And I have tried at every step to stick to the plan and you know, go with what we laid out there. I think that our story deals with broader and bigger issues, you know, that it's not about a specific moment in time, that it's really about, you know, exploring big value divides and, you know, big questions about what kind of world you want to live in. So, you know, I think that as far as, you know, when the book is released and in what environment it's released, that was the kind of thing that we never had any kind of control over. I think what you do is with all these stories is always you try to make sure that there are stories that people can read 30, 40 years down the road, you know, and that they'll still have some relevance to their lives. So we tried to go big picture in terms of, you know, the kind of message we were trying to send.
Mm-hmm. And so a lot of what I see when people, you know, go after you on Twitter or just in general, whenever someone doesn't like a story or what a character change that's really big and maybe a little controversial, is that fans are like, well, wouldn't it be nice if I had a heroic Captain America right now? Do you think, do comic book creators and I guess creatives in general, do you owe it to fans to make the character always be heroic and a shining symbol of what they've always been?
No, we don't. You know, and that's a really that's a great question and a really important thing that I think that people always have to keep in mind when they're deciding to follow these characters through the sequential fiction. You know, if you've decided to hop onto that roller coaster, understand that it's going to turn you upside down a few times, and understand that it's going to scare you at times, and it's fine if that's not for you. You know, there are other ways to enjoy stories of these characters that are more self-contained. You know, that they're you know, you can you know, these days you can make your own stories with these characters a lot of the time. So you know, and that's totally fine. But if you're in for this kind of journey, you really have to understand the soap opera nature of it. You really have to understand that, you know, the creators are always going to be putting them through extreme adversity, and so the characters, for us as creators, you know, the character's role as a symbol always has to be secondary to their role as a person. You know, that they have to be a character first and a symbol second. That what makes the character, that what makes them a symbol is what the character does. Mm-hmm. So you know, it one leads and the other follows, and so you definitely can't put a character in a glass case and say, oh, I can never do this or this to the character. You have to be very careful with doing that kind of thing. That's when that happens. You know, you really start to see the story stagnate. You really start to see people drift away from those characters, because the reality is we like to see how they deal with these things. We like to see them challenged with great threats and hopefully overcome them, or even, you know, just how you know, how they represent themselves or whatever over the course of it, even if they don't come out on top. So, so that's, you know, that's a big part of what we do. It constantly puts us kind of at odds with the audience, you know, who should and need to always want the character to win and be okay and be happy. If they didn't have that investment, then they wouldn't care.
No, yeah, totally. I think some people, they just want to see like Captain America bust through a window, stop the Doomsday bomb at the last second, save the girl, punch the guy in the face, and then end scene. But
this is that's kind of what, if you ask people, they're like, that's what I want. That's all I want every month. You really don't. Like, it's a thing that people think that they want. It's understandable why they think that they want it. You know, but the reality of it is that wouldn't be very exciting. That would get very boring. You may never even say a bad word about those stories if that's what we did every month. You just probably wouldn't read them.
Right.
So,
okay.
you know, so making you emotionally invested and involved and at times angry and afraid and upset, that's just part of our job as storytellers.
Okay, yeah. If you didn't get riled up, you wouldn't really want to buy the next issue. Yeah, there it is. Okay, well, thank you so much, Nick.
Thank you.
You know, so let us know your thoughts in the comments on Secret Empire, everything leading up to it, and the event once it hits. And for more from Nick Spencer, from Marvel and everything else, keep it here on IGN.